Okay, let's talk about what is resonance, bright versus dark. So last week when we were talking about pitch, I said that I'm always going to try and refer to pitch as high versus low. When I'm talking about resonance, I'm always going to use the words bright and dark. And this is to differentiate when I'm talking about the fundamental frequency that we call pitch, or the quality of that pitch, brightness and darkness, that we're going to call resonance. Okay, so when I'm talking about brightness, darkness, that's resonance. High, low, that's pitch. I do occasionally make mistakes because there is a component of pitch in resonance, which we're going to get into. But I will try very hard to keep these two qualities separate using these words. Okay? So, just like last week, resonance is one of the 4 qualities that we are going to be discussing in this course. We've already talked about pitch last week, and today we're talking about resonance. Now, I just want to make one thing clear. The resonance is the name of this quality, brightness and darkness. There are other names for it. Some people have been using the term vocal space, and you'll see why in a moment. And some people just take issue with the word resonance because sometimes it's confusing because we might conflate it with the verb to resonate, which is just like to vibrate, right? I will talk about resonation, like to vibrate, but just remember that this is just the name for this quality. If it makes more sense for you to call it brightness or darkness and just leave the resonance word out of this, that's fine. Or if you want to call it vocal space, that's fine too. I'm going to be using the word resonance throughout this course, obviously, but I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so the first important thing to understand is that everything resonates at a natural frequency. So I have my little iced coffee here. Let me put it down. Maybe you hear it better. Worse. Right? Everything resonates. If I tap my desk, it makes a sound as well. So where's my water bottle? That's what I really wanted to show you. Here we go. This makes a nice sound. So every object resonates at a natural frequency. And I mean that it vibrates. So when an object is struck, it vibrates at a particular frequency, creating the sound that we hear. That coffee cup, that desk, that water bottle. Including pitch, right? When we hit the water bottle, let's just put the water bottle up here so we can hear it better. Da. It kind of has an element of pitch in it. And that's because pitch is made through vibration. So if you remember from last week, the vibration of the vocal folds, that's what creates the pitch that we hear as our voice. So vibration equals sound, you can basically think. All objects vibrate at a natural frequency. Your vocal tract, so the tube that is after your larynx, also vibrates at a natural frequency. But it changes shape, right? So if your tongue is up or your larynx is down, it changes shape. So since your vocal tract can change shape, the natural frequency also changes. And you can think about like a water glass, right? Or my water bottle here. If I hit my water bottle, it makes this sound. But if it was full, right now it's not full. If it was full, it would have a different sound. And that's because the amount of water actually changes the shape of the object, right? Like there's less space inside. So the object, the system, including the water bottle and the water, will have a different natural frequency depending on how much water is in the glass. And so when we're talking about the vocal tract, let's take a look here. The vocal tract contains like basically 2 chambers that we can alter the size and shape of. We have the mouth, and if you think about it, like your tongue can come all the way up, your tongue can go all the way down, you can open your mouth really wide, you can close it. And then we also have the pharynx, and this is like the back of the throat, and you can make that space really wide by lowering your larynx. If you were just to yawn, suddenly we get like a different sound inside of the voice, right? And that's because we're changing the shape of the filter. So you might be thinking like, what do you mean it has a resonant frequency? Like I can't hear it separate from my voice, but actually you can. So if you like flick the side of your throat, I'm gonna put my microphone close so you can hear this. Right, so that's one sound. It was like da da da, but lower. And then I can make it a different sound. So I don't know if you can hear that. That was just the resonant frequency of the vocal tract. There was absolutely no phonation. I wasn't even breathing. So you can do that by flicking you want to try and get like the side of your neck. You don't want to go so far down. You want to be flicking kind of into the empty chamber. And if that doesn't work for you, you can also just breathe without phonation. So like say the word he, and then say the word who. So you shouldn't feel any vibration here. And what you can hear is just the different like resonant frequency of that chamber. It's kind of like if you were to blow over the top of a bottle. I wonder if I can blow over the top of this bottle. Right? We're hearing the frequency of the bottle. The wind is like creating that sound by blowing over the top. So it's sort of the same thing. So you could hear how just changing the shape of your mouth by going he and who, we can hear a different sound of that wind. Okay? So when we're talking about resonance, just to remind you, wind instruments, if you remember, have power, source, and filter. So the power is what drives the sound. So there's the wind from the lungs. And then the source, the vibrating vocal folds, creates the sound. But it's the filter, the vocal tract, that shapes and colors that sound. So we can have a single pitch and it can have like different colors. It can be bright or it can be dark. Now we're going to talk a lot about the spectrograms, basically the tool today, but I just wanted to show you. This is Sumian Voice, the tool we looked at last week, and I'm going to show you what all this different stuff means. But on one side, we have basically what I just did. So there's absolutely no phonation, and you can see there's no fundamental pitch down here. It's all up here because it's just the air. But then here, I've added phonation, but it looks different. Each one looks different. So let's go take a look at what that is. So I've added some little bits and bobs here. So let me move my head out of the way, top right, there we go. So on the left, as I said, this is unphonated. So today we're going to talk about phonated and unphonated. Whenever I'm talking about phonation, I just mean involving vibrations of the vocal folds. So anytime you make a sound, you're phonating. If you're doing any other kind of exercise that involves your filter, your vocal tract, but you're not adding sound, that's unphonated. So the exercise we just did, that's an unphonated exercise, right? So you can see this exercise, I'll show it to you later, but basically what I'm doing here is going, so up here, we've got a higher natural frequency of the vocal tract, and down here we've got a lower natural frequency of the vocal tract. So what the heck is happening when we're adding the like natural frequency of the vocal tract to the fundamental frequency that like a single note tuner would read out to you? That's the question. Basically, do you remember last week we talked about how human voices have all of these overtones? We have the fundamental frequency, but then inside our voice, we have overtones that are included, and that's what like gives the quality of our voice that character. Well, when we combine the natural frequency of the vocal tract with the sound of the vocal tract basically highlights certain overtones or sort of takes them away. It creates like hot spots in the frequencies of the voice. So when we have more higher frequencies, such as when the natural frequency of the vocal tract is higher, we hear more of these higher overtones. And this would sound like very bright. So I think here I'm going, up here, it's very bright. However, when the natural frequency of the vocal tract is low, those upper frequencies disappear and we only hear the lower frequencies, the lower overtones. All the while the fundamental pitch is playing. So, okay, this is super confusing. I understand that. So I want to just show you in Sumian Voice exactly what we're doing, okay? So let's just, is it this way? Yes, okay. So we'll press play on this. So now this is Sumian Voice, and it's picking up my voice and a little bit of background noise. Yeah, so if I don't talk, you can see right here, there's a little bit of background noise. So just to if you remember, you can press the space bar to stop the tracking or space bar again to continue. Now, if I just do you can see has tons of high frequencies, has tons of low frequencies, and some high frequencies. But if I add a sound to that, this shape, E, ooh, E, ooh, you can see the high frequencies are being highlighted here. And in the ones where I'm doing ooh, we're only getting the low ones. The high ones are cut out. All right, so this will be important in like 1 second, but I also want to reproduce the slide I just showed you. So, whoops, I phonated here a little bit. You can see. Let me try that again. Okay, so that's just vocal tract like sound. Now I'm going to add phonation. Oh, oh, oh. Right? How cool is that? So, as you can see, the same note, it didn't change. Oh, 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 oh. The whole time I'm singing the same note. But as I change the size and shape of the vocal tract, we're getting more and more higher frequencies and then less and less higher frequencies. I also wish I could overtone sing. That's pretty cool. You can see that on here. Like, it's kind of hard to see, but because I'm kind of bad at overtone singing, but you can sort of hear, right? All the while, I'm keeping the pitch steady, but because I'm changing the size and shape of the vocal tract, I'm able to like isolate certain overtones. That's how overtone singing works. Woo, okay, that's a lot of information. I know. But the good news is you are an expert at modifying resonance. Okay, I promise. And how do I know? Because this is how we differentiate vowels. If you could not modify your vocal tract to create different resonances, you wouldn't be able to communicate at all, right? So let's just quickly go back to Sumian voice and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to talk like a robot here, more or less. Everything's on the same pitch. But you can hear that I'm doing different things with my voice. I'm still able to communicate even though my pitch is not changing. Now watch this. E, A, O, U. Right? E, A, O, U. So E has some higher frequencies and less lower frequencies. A is a little bit sort of in the middle. E A, sorry, and then ah is more open, so we have fewer higher frequencies, more lower frequencies. E A A O has only low frequencies, and oo has only low frequencies. So this is how vowels are differentiated. You're already the expert, I promise. Okie dokie. Actually, that's it. That's everything you need to know about what resonance is. So I'll just recap because I know it's a little bit confusing. So all objects have a resonant frequency, including your vocal tract. Your vocal tract can change resonant frequencies because it's a changeable object, much like a water glass filling with water or emptying. When you combine the sound of your voice with all the overtone it contains with the resonant frequency of your vocal tract's resonant frequency causes hot spots basically in your overtones. So it highlights bright overtones or dark overtones, and it's that highlighting that gives the sound quality, bright or dark, or more, right? E, A, O, U. So you're already an expert at modifying resonance because that's how we differentiate vowels and consonants to a certain extent. I'll show you about that later. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. If you did not understand, I just want you to play around in Sumian voice, and we're going to talk. That's going to be an exercise in the next lesson. But really, I think I learned the most from just playtime in that with the spectrogram. You really can see how it responds. And it took me a while to be able to reproduce those exercises I just show you. So don't stress if you're not able to reproduce exactly what I can do. Spend some time with it. Okay, and with that, let's discuss in more detail how we measure resonance.